I'm Honeyshuckleex.
I'm Zachbot Barbecue.
And I'm Giggleklutz.
Today we're going to be talking about Roki.
Roki.
Not to be confused with Loki or Koki.
Yeah, those are vastly different things from this, I think.
Yeah, I would say so. Kokis don't do well in the snow.
Yeah, but there are frogs in this game.
Yes, but Koki is a very specific kind of frog.
Very true, and that specific frog is not in this game. But what is in this game is a puzzle-based adventure.
Yes. You don't say. Puzzle-based adventure?
Yeah, I've heard that said multiple times just now.
No, we've actually played the game. She's not just describing it to us. But it was a while ago.
But it was developed by Polygon Treehouse and published by United Label in 2020.
Yep, and we played it off of Steam.
We did play it off of Steam, and...
Well, I mean, we played it on Steam.
Fine. We did PC platform via Steam.
Yeah, and...
Are you satisfied with that wording? Do you need more different words?
There were several possible platforms we could have used to play video games, but this one was downloaded and launched through Steam on a home computer running Windows.
Look, at this point, you should probably just safely assume that we played just about everything on PC. Like, we've played one Switch game, and that was not together.
That's true. That's true.
But this game is a story involving a girl named Tove, as she is chasing after a giant beast named Roki who stole her brother Lars.
And the only words that are spoken are, Lars!
Tove!
Yeah. So it's not voice acted. It's vocalized a little bit in the way that games do, but
Yeah, it's got some basic vocal barks, but no outright voiceover dialogue.
Yeah, although at first, the first couple words in the game are just Lars, and I was like, oh, is this game completely voice acted? No.
But it's understandable. I could understand the investment that small games actually have. When you don't voice act your game, then you don't have to do so much work for localization. You can just give the scripts to people to translate for you.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta make sure it fits in the text boxes and whatnot. It's so much easier than making sure everything still times to the new dialogue.
Oh yeah, and if you were gonna be fancy schmancy mouth movements.
Yeah. But how about we talk a little bit about the review? How do we feel about this game?
Well, first of all, I'm using Frozen as my baseline as to kind of scary that kids can handle.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think it is on that? I think it's a little past Frozen in the scary level.
Yeah, there's a couple sections where it's pretty tense with a big creature. So it's a little bit more than that. But I think in general it's pretty family friendly.
Right. I mean, you'd want to do it with kids, is what I'm saying. It's not that it wouldn't be completely inappropriate for kids, but it's one that you wouldn't want to, hey kids, play it by yourself if they're sensitive to tense or scary moments. And the story does deal with trauma, so you might want to play it together. Then again, we're going to advocate for that around here. Anyway.
So yeah, there's multiple instances of death.
And a very early instance of a Molotov cocktail.
She says it's not one of the puzzles. Yeah, it just happens to happen in the story. It's not like Jason Mendozaing out of the first real conflict. And you catch the reference, you catch the reference, whatever.
So, speaking of that sort of puzzle, I do think that the puzzles in this game are done really well. They make it clear, even when you don't try something that's correct, that a lot of them still have, unique dialogue that can point you in the right direction, kind of functioning as a hint system without actually having a hint system.
It's beautiful, honestly. I wish more games would do that. I know it's a lot of work, but yeah, if you try something wrong, she'll say something about what's wrong to help you find out what might work better, which is so much better than the traditional adventure puzzle game of stabbing in the dark and having no idea what kind of video game logic you're actually bumping into.
Yeah, it's I don't know, I have some joke about adventure game puzzles, but I just can't make it work.
You can't combine them in your inventory?
Yeah, it's like I thought those two things would go together. I know it seems weird, but it's been weird this whole time. Why doesn't this one work? You see, that's not the kind of problem you get in this game.
No. There's, like, I believe the term that people use for this is moon logic. There's no moon logic.
Right. At least not as far as our perspective is concerned. But then again, I've played other games where I felt like everything was moon logic. And it turns out that it's just, gaps in my cultural education, which are gonna happen too. So
I think I know exactly which one you're talking about.
I didn't have anything specific in mind, so now I'm
thinking of the one Grim Fandango thing with the tongues.
Oh, well, that wasn't my gap.
Well,
okay,
well that's off topic.
It is off topic, but yeah.
Yeah, if you want to ask us about Grim Fandango, there's an episode on it. Moving on.
And that actually is covered in the episode on Grim Fandango.
Yes.
But here we're talking about Roki today, in case you're just joining us.
Yeah. So one of the things, like, I was the one who controlled this game. I will say that if you are playing it on PC, there is not really that great of keyboard support. I'm a keyboard warrior. I play most games with a keyboard. This one is weird. Because, like, a lot of these sort of games, you have, like, mouse support where you can, like, click and drag stuff or, like, click to move or what have you. In this game, if you want to use an item, you do have to, like, select it, I think, with E and then move it with either arrow keys or WASD. It feels very awkward.
I'll believe you. I had no idea that you were stumbling through that, because I was not driving.
Yeah, for you developers at home who may be listening, the whole fake cursor thing is not great for accessibility.
Yeah, like, I imagine it does work a lot better with controller, where you have, like, all the buttons and joysticks in, like, a pretty condensed area. It makes more sense that way, but, like, it's just a small gripe as somebody who does play keyboard.
But anyway, so we think the puzzles are really well done. They're challenging, but they don't lose you. The story is engaging and meaningful, and we'll get into more details about the story after the spoiler warning. You want to talk about aesthetics, since aesthetics are your thing?
Ooh, I do love me a good lineless style like that, where it's, like, nice and crisp, not trying for realism, got some, like, cell shading. Ooh, it's very soft. It's a winter scene, but, like, it doesn't necessarily feel like a distant kind of cold.
Realistic is the most unoriginal art style. That's literally what real life has.
I know, right?
That's a good point. And when we went and looked back to prep for this episode, I was noticing about, wow, that art style is its own thing. Like so many other games. You know, it's like, are we going to run out of art styles? And I know we won't, but it feels like we should at some point. How many are going to have a unique aesthetic? And I don't know, but
it's a pretty good sign if you have a unique aesthetic.
Yeah.
Because there are some games I've played where I'm like, oh yeah, that's from, like, this stock library, and, like, you can definitely make games that do pull from those, but, like, if you went through the effort to make your own thing, it's gonna probably meld together better, you know?
Oh, yeah. And to wrap up the review section here, thumbs up.
Thumbs up, thumbs up.
We enjoyed it. We thought it was worth making an episode about. You know, we do avoid making rant episodes. Hell, we even avoid finishing games that make us rant too much. So
yeah, I mean, we could make a games we couldn't finish episode at some point, but
only by request. I think we've got plenty of other things to talk about and plenty of games to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, comment below if you want us to keep doing our own thing, or if you want to derail us into talking about games we didn't finish. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm.
That they are.
If you spam us with enough original comments about it, we'll definitely do it. Definitely. Quote unquote.
I bet you nobody's commented first yet.
I think it's probably time to move into deeper stuff and get out of whatever trench you guys derailed us into.
Yeah, so it's time for the spoiler warning. Beyond this point, we're going to be talking about things beyond the tutorial, because yes, pretty much everything we talked about is the tutorial section.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, have you played the game? It's okay if you haven't, but now we're going to talk spoilers here, because, oh my god, the way that this game handles trauma. Whew, I love that.
I'm sorry. Just as a parent, That's not exactly what you dream of for your children. It's like, wow, everyone's so traumatized. It's awesome! Yeah, it makes her sound either like a supervillain, not saying she isn't, but,
Wow, this totally sucks for all these characters. I can totally relate to this!
yeah, it makes me, sigh, a little mom sigh. That's all. Just, I wanted to comment on that. But we do appreciate, all three of us, a well-handled trauma narrative.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm gonna get more deep into that in a second, but it is used as, like, this setup for a sort of fairy tale story, Like, there's a lot of fairy tales where, like, oh, you have your dead parent, or somebody's been whisked away to the fairy realm. How about both?
Why not both? Yes.
Why not both? And the game uses these sort of story tropes to build a fantastical narrative, and one of the things that I think fits this aspect the most is the fact that you're seeking the help of great beings in order to go find your brother, instead of, like, an object. Like, you don't need a sword to slay the beast. No, you just need the big, powerful guys to make a portal for you, which is very fairy tale.
Yes, very fairy tale indeed. The baby being stolen, all that, yeah, very fairy tale.
And it pulls, like, some pretty interesting creatures into, like, the rest of the story as well. Like, we've got the Yule Cat. Did you guys remember the Yule Cat?
I had forgotten about the Yule Cat.
Yeah, the Yule Cat is like the only character I've ever voice acted for one of these games. Just, yeah, we do the voices when there's no voices, and I did that voice.
Yay!
Yay!
There are trolls, and isn't there, like, an invisible witch?
Yeah, an invisible shroom witch. And there's this weird... I don't remember what he is, but he's kind of like a mermaid in a pool or something.
So anyway, there's lots of fantastical people. I won't even call them creatures, because they're speaking kind of things, and you interact with them, and you have to negotiate with them. Very fairy tale. And I like that kind of thing a lot.
Yeah, like, violence is kind of not really the answer for a lot of this. Which is kind of funny, because you have a knife. I mean, you mostly use that against plants.
I'm giving you the side eye, because those plants have eyes on them, so they're kind of more like tentacles of one of the giants, in a way.
Yeah, believe it's the Natamare is, like, the thing that's, like, infecting them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what's growing all the vines and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, the giants.
Oh yeah, they were giants. Yeah, that's who you're after to get their help, because there were 4 of them. They sealed away one of them after she ran away to have a kid with a woodsman. It's like, oh no, we can't have giant human hybrid babies. No, that's wrong and bad. We're gonna put you in this castle forever.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna go badly. Locking someone in a castle forever never goes badly, especially if, okay, she's gone, let's go to sleep now. Yep, sounds like a very sound plan. I'm glad we're all in agreement. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, just... Wow. Okay, guys,
It's not like she's gonna have resentment or anything.
No, people never get resentful when you lock them away in a castle. Exile is fun!
Okay, if I had to make a bingo card for this episode, Exile is fun would not have been on it.
I win!
Is that how you win bingo?
Well, it's a win.
But speaking of, like, the Jotnar and this nightmare thing that you have to free them from, this is when the trauma aspect of the narrative begins to come into play, because Tove's mom passed away right as she was having Lars, and this has kind of led to Tove having to parent Lars a lot.
Because Dad was devastated by the loss of Mom.
Drinking himself to sleep, just coming home from work, crashing immediately. It's a sad state, that household.
Yes.
And in these nightmare sequences, we get to see Tove start to actually work through some of this trauma that she has. And one of these being the well. One of the early establishing tidbits between Tove and her father is she says, why did he throw all of Mom's things away? Why did he do that? And in this nightmare sequence, we get to delve into that. We see how devastated the father is next to this well. And as we go down into the well and start to untangle Tove's memories, she realizes that she threw all of that stuff down the well because she didn't want to think about that anymore. The happy memories tied with her mom were now too sad. She just threw it all away and then put up an amnesia barrier.
And made a new story where Dad was the one that threw the stuff down the well, and she believed it. And he let her.
And this is just one of those things that trauma can do to you.
I've never seen that demonstrated in a fiction before, to have somebody just not fight the irrational grief response in somebody else, where he's...
Like, it's not going to bring her back.
Right. It's like, and her stuff is gone. It doesn't matter if you blame me for the thing that you did. Trauma doesn't manifest in logical or reasonable to our sensibilities kind of ways. Your memories are going to be what they are, and as you start to heal, some of the hardest things to heal from will be where your brain hid things from you. It didn't let you see what you actually even did, what actually was going on. It gave you a story that you could live with instead. That's a normal trauma response.
It's like, when you're dealing with a lot of hard things, the big picture can get folded up, and you might not know what's hidden in those creases.
So the evidence of things being gone will be true and preserved, but the story of how that all came to be might be incredibly distorted. Things like that. And it comes up again in another trauma sequence where Tove had blamed herself for her mother's death.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily need to get into the whole details of the story unless you want to.
Yeah, because, like, this comes, like, at the very end of the game, and it's a pretty impactful moment that, like, just speaks a lot to the turmoil you can feel in these situations, in these flashbacks, in these what-ifs.
Yeah. In the end, stuff is going to happen, and people do die, and it's never the child's fault that these things happen. And even the adults in life are powerless to stop the worst thing from happening. We just all have to live in this dangerous world, in these fragile bodies, and survive. We have to move past things that we don't want to.
I also will say, with, like, this amnesia barrier, like, sequence, like, this is such a great use of, like, unreliable narrator.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of times where unreliable narrator is mishandled in games that I've played, or it's a literal narrator. Like, thank you, Stanley Parable. And this was a really great way to have that be actually as the character, because I think a lot of people misunderstand that aspect of it, that, like, it's a person's perspective just as much as it can be, like, a actual narration.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think all of it's handled really well. And it doesn't soften the blows. It's devastating to find out that all this went down the ways that it did. And it doesn't vilify... In the human story, it doesn't vilify anybody for all the ways that it happened. It's just coming to terms with the fact that it sucked. It was terrible. All the grief is justified.
And damn if you have to go on a magical journey to actually internalize that.
Yeah. Darn it, if the only thing that's gonna shock you guys out of your grief spiral is if a monster comes and kidnaps baby brother, so be it. That's the way it's gonna be.
Also, giant monster's very sweet.
That's true.
Yeah,
We won't stand for any Roki slander around here.
Yeah, he's just a big friendly monster who has to do kidnappings because his mom can't leave the castle.
Like, I don't want to make Mom sad. I gotta do what Mom says.
Roki's not very intellectually aged.
No. Still definitely a giant kid puppy.
Yeah, kid puppy. That, think of it that way. Kid puppy.
Like, I don't know how raven plus human equals dog.
Yeah, we never did mention that, like, the giants are, like, huge animals, not like
Oh,
giant people.
Yeah, there's the
Giant humans.
the raven, the wolf, the bear, and the elk. And the raven's the one who's locked away.
Yep, with her monster baby.
Like, that's also pretty sad.
Yeah. But they don't just leave you in the, you untangle the nightmares to free the giants to help you go and hold off the ravens so you can escape with your brother. And Tove thinks most of the game that Roki killed their dad in the collapsing house.
Plot twist! He's alive somehow, actually.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the house was torn up when Roki came to visit, and you had to set it on fire with that previously mentioned Molotov cocktail to escape.
So,
It could have gone so much worse.
yeah.
It's awfully convenient, but hey, no more death!
Oh, thank goodness.
But I was just going to use that to talk about how that's Act 3 when it's the two.
Yeah, because
It leads to a lovely mechanic.
Yeah, so Tove manages to go to the castle in, like, this sort of prison dimension.
Which is already gotten to through a Fey realm, essentially.
Yeah, and meanwhile her dad gets there by a boat.
By very conventional human means.
So he's still in the human world. She's in, like, the fairy realm. But because they're in the same overlapping space...
They can solve each other's puzzles.
But they can't talk to each other.
Yeah, so they just kind of are operating off of, like, a sort of instinct-ish for a while, where it's just like, this is really weird, but I think if I just mess around with this, something good will happen.
It's like they can kind of communicate with each other, but it's more of vague feelings.
Which, is suiting to the video game mechanic versus how it really would be for the characters. But that's okay. It's a wonderful dynamic. The puzzles are really fun to play. Playing ones where you have separate characters sometimes is really clunky, and with this one it was just fun.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. Being able to just, like, immediately, like, shift as easily as it lets you in this game was really nice. Like, it's just a simple button press.
And it was really nice also that it let itself shift gears. It's the same kind of mechanics for the first 2 acts, and then all of a sudden for the third one it's a different kind. But it doesn't change the feel at all. It just adds depth to the kinds of puzzles that they can do.
It's this big extra mechanic, but all the rest of the familiar framework you've been playing with since the beginning is still right there.
It's a lovely sequence of puzzles.
Lovely to play. The setting is quite frightening.
Well, okay, 50% of the setting's quite frightening. The other one, it's just a castle in the daytime.
Well, there's the remnants of some mysterious failed expedition there. That's kind of frightening.
I guess.
You play too many things with devastating shit has happened in the past. It's too normal for you. I'm just saying, if you walked into someplace like that in life, you'd be freaked out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Turn around.
Like, what makes me think I'm special? Nothing. I'm vulnerable. I'm out of here.
I'm gonna tell somebody, and they can come with equipment if they're really that curious.
Like
Somebody can send in a drone.
And it's like, yeah, these scattered journal entries aren't anything to go by. These people were professionals, and they're all gone now.
Yeah, but professionals can be overconfident.
Yeah.
The second batch are the ones that should be aware.
Yeah, but, professionals is like going there as part of a job, not just, waking up and, desperately trying to find out what happened to your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After you spent all evening buried in rubble.
This man. How did he get here?
Shh.
Oh, right, by boat, yeah.
Yeah, by boat. By boat, yes. So anyway, what do we have left?
Like, I do think how, like, the ending is handled is, like, really nice. Like, I'm not gonna get, like, too deep into, like, details, but, like, it's an interesting take on, like, the happy ending, right? Like, it's not quite what I expected.
Yeah, it's fair, which is good.
Yeah.
Endings that you can see way ahead of time are rarely as satisfying as ones that surprise you, so.
Even if it's just in, like, subtle ways.
Yeah, the dad being alive is the bigger twist, anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Like, going through this game, like, Tove's already going, like, oh no, I'm never gonna see my dad again.
And if I don't rescue my brother, I'm all alone forever.
She's going through some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and you feel for her. She's being a very brave little Tove.
Yeah, you really play through those hard feelings in a lot of different ways during the game.
There's a lot of them. A lot of different directions. Grief, fear, more grief.
Yeah, it's like I don't think you can legally take that much emotional baggage on a flight.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't gonna fit in the overhead compartments, I'll tell you that much.
Dang it, I'm realizing now that I forgot, like, during my review to talk about how, like, the game doesn't feel linear, and that there's, like, stuff to find. It's a little late now, but I thought that was fun.
What do you mean by that?
I think that as weird as the journal is, it's very fun.
Oh, okay.
Because, like, you can go, as you explore this game, you can find random garbage to put in your journal, and it can be anything like, oh, look at this cool wood carving, to troll snot!
Ew,
Awesome!
But it's like the dialogue's like, ew, this is a disgusting pile of troll snot. This will look good in my journal.
Yeah. There's a little bit of whiplash in some of the journal stuff, and that's okay. It just makes you giggle.
A frozen rat tail? Oh, this is going in the journal for sure.
Lars would love this.
And it's also kind of weird when you get the two characters. It's like only Tove has the journal, but her dad can find stuff for it too.
Yeah, that's a little video game logic, but that's okay. The journal feels like something that was added on after the rest, so...
It is the collectibles. That is a big part of what it does. Besides, just keep track of story stuff.
Yep.
But anyway, it's a wonderful puzzle adventure fairy tale that deals with some heavy topics in a very... It's hard to say realistic about a fairy tale, but...
Well, the mental health stuff's pretty realistic.
Yeah, I
The
do
characters are all pretty grounded.
It's like it may be distinctly fictional, but it tells the truth.
Which is what good fiction does.
That is what good fiction does.
And this is good fiction. And it's a fun puzzle game, and it's pretty, and...
I think it is fun for, like, our multiplayer.
Oh yeah, this one was a fun one to play together.
It was just hard enough that we didn't really get stuck, but it was also complicated enough that we would all have ideas about what to do next.
Yeah, it wasn't so simple as we knew everything from the moment we saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. Additionally, if you want a game that gives you the completely optional opportunity to do the voice of Yule Cat, you can do that in this game too. I know, I did that.
We're just gonna keep bringing it back to Yule Cat.
Well, you heard it here from Sackbot yourself.
We give this a Yule Cat out of 10.
What? Okay. I'm just gonna sit here, and I'm just sitting here. Yep.
Is that all we wanted to talk about today?
I think that pretty much wraps up Roki.
I think it does too. Yeah, this was a really fun experience, and I'm glad that we have a chance to talk about it.
So play it for yourself, and let us know what you think. This has been Collab Not Multiplayer. I'm GiggleKlutz.
I'm Honeyshuckleex.
And I'm Sackbot Barbecue.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.